or distinction clearly indicates that it is a Christian ministry or a theology degree. For more information, call Dr. Karen Drake at 602-224-1161.
Welcome back, and we're going to be continuing on as Larry was leading out, talking about how you need to have each other's back and make sure you're on the same page. We also suggest in our teaching that maybe as a couple you might need to get together and come up with a code word. That way when you're out anywhere, even in family gatherings, that you have a code word. And as soon as the other spouse hears that word, you don't ask any questions, you just immediately get your things and leave. We know we mentioned that to one of our pastors at our church that had a marriage ministry, and he said, well, that's a good idea to have. I don't know that we'd ever use it, but, I'm going to take that into thought too. And the next weekend he told us, he said, we had a family gathering, and my wife felt very uncomfortable. Someone in the family that we hadn't seen for a while said something very hurtful to her. And she just came up to me and said the code word that we had, and we immediately left. And that really saved us from not only getting into an awkward position with the family, but from one another too. And a lot of times women, you think that when you look at a husband, you say, well, couldn't you tell that I was upset? No, they don't have a clue. They're in their nothing box or a box talking about the sports or something. They're not really looking to see what's going on with you. So try to come up with a code word. We suggest something like Starbucks or I need coffee or I need dessert. Some people even have a stupid one they thought of with a squirrel or a bird. Look at that bird. Whatever you feel is comfortable, do that. But that's going to be your safety net. And you're going to both know that you've got each other's back, and that is the main thing. But this has saved many marriages we know just within our group. Larry, I'm going to ask a short question here. Why do I always have to give, because someone asked this in our group just Sunday, why do I always have to give in to my husband on decisions?
Well, you want me to answer that one?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to answer it if you wanted me to, so
no.
I'll do it. What we were explaining in the class yesterday was ultimately the husband has the responsibility for the family and what happens. So whenever there's a disagreement, obviously the first thing is you should be praying about it.
Yes.
Trying to come to an agreement on whatever the situation is. But we need to be using the scriptures as the umpire so that it's not so much what you think or what I think, but what does God say about this?
Right.
So
but the key is they do have to come to an agreement. It's not because he said I can't do this or because she said I can't do this. They need to pray about it, look in the Bible and find out what the Bible says, but definitely be in agreement on it, correct?
As much as possible, but in that 1% of the cases where they just can't seem to find an agreement, then in God's chain of command, the husband is ultimately responsible to make the final decision.
Okay, but it's best if it's in agreement.
Right. It's always better to have agreement.
Okay. Then I got some questions too. How can I stop feeling like my ex and my husband or my wife, depending on which ex it is, are talking behind my back, and it makes me feel like they're more important than I am? Now, we're talking about a new spouse here. We suggest that all the calls regarding this situation, that all the calls be put on speakerphone. That way, the new partner or the new spouse knows there's nothing going on behind your back. I mean, you're there for whatever the phone conversation is going to be. But also, if the ex-spouse asks a question of your present husband or your present wife.
You're listening to ChristianLivingRadio.com with the Snaps.
What we suggest that they tell them, you know what, we are going to have to pray about that, and then we will get back to you. That way it's letting the ex-spouse know that you're not still making those decisions alone. There are two of you now, and the two of you are on the same page. That has created a lot of terrible situations for new spouses. But if you guys and gals do that, it gives them a release, and don't deviate from that. If the ex-wife or the ex-spouse calls and you're at work or something, do not get the call. Tell your other partner about it, or your present wife, and say, they called and we need to call them back, and take care of it that way. But don't go behind each other's back.
Right.
Larry, who should manage the money? And does the old rule still apply that the guy has to handle all this?
Doctors Larry and Carol Snap are discussing keeping right order in your marriage. Stay tuned as this lesson continues on and expands on placing God first.
Basically, anything that happens in the household, it should be whoever has the best gift. And that kind of goes back to who's normal is normal. God gives us all different gifts and strengths as well as weaknesses. So if the husband happens to have a weakness with finances, then he shouldn't be the one keeping track of it all. And if the wife is good with numbers, she's good with spreadsheets, and she has a gift for managing that kind of thing, then by all means, let her take care of it. But the catch is, again, the husband is ultimately responsible for the management, and he needs to know what's going on, even if he doesn't do the day-to-day management. He's not the one necessarily writing the checks, but he needs to know what's in the accounts and where the money's going.
Right. Okay. And then I've got another question that says, the kids don't respect me. How do I turn this around? And we're talking again a new spouse. Well, we suggest, especially in a blended family, that you have a family meeting. And that means call everybody. Even if the older ones are out of the house, you have everybody come back. But the two of you prior to the meeting need to discuss what boundaries are going to be, what rules are going to be in place, and so you know how you're going to deliver this meeting when you talk to them. And the husband or the wife needs to say, this is my new partner, this is your stepmom or your stepdad, and you will respect them. And we have come up with some boundaries, and these are the rules and the boundaries in our home, and if you don't conform to these are the consequences. That way the kids know that if they go to you, you're going to say the same thing if they went to your husband. And the husbands, you're going to know that the new wife is going to say the same things that you are. So you guys got to be in agreement on all those rules. This is our home. These are our house rules. And this is our new normal. And like Larry was saying before, you take the best of your normal and the best of his normal, and you put it together and you're making a new our normal. But the key is to still be in agreement. A special thank you to the pastors and leaders, Ray and Trish over the marriage ministry at Pure Heart Church. Also our friends Tom and Mandy. Great job teaching and leading Pure Heart's first family class, blended family class.
Tune in next week with Doctors Larry and Carol Snap right here on ChristianLivingRadio.com with Blended Families Ministry out of Phoenix, Arizona, located at the Dream City Church in Phoenix, 13613 North Cave Creek Road, Phoenix, Arizona, 85022. Or call them at 602-863-7978. Or you may go directly to their website, blendedfamiliesministry.org.
Thank you for listening to our programming today. If you were blessed by our programming today, be a blessing. Hit the donate button and donate any amount that's laid on your heart. And always, thank you for listening to ChristianLivingRadio.com.